Here we're going to talk about the biggest barrier that will stop any authentic growth on this journey. So, if you're interested in this, then by all means, stick around. So it's natural on this journey to ebb and flow, to do some really deep sadhana, and then get caught up in worldly distractions, isn't it? And for a while, life is like this. We go back to the world, then we come back to our practices, then we go back to the world and come back to our practices, and we get distracted. And sometimes we can really lose our path. And my God, don't I know that in me? I've lost my way a few times on this journey, and we can almost feel hopeless, lost, blind, and begin questioning whether this path is even real, if I'm on it, or if I'm just going crazy. And these are all okay, they're well recognized things on this path. But there's one thing that faces humanity that is the biggest barrier to any authentic spiritual growth. And I'm going to tell you about it in a second. Before I do that, just below the video in the comments section, pinned to the top, is many free offerings for you. You can introduce yourself to Hatha Yoga. There's a free introduction down below. There's a free breathing practice, which is sure to elicit some high energy states of being, which is great if that's what you like. There's also some awakening coaching. The application form is free to see if we're a good match, but the coaching itself isn't free. You will have to invest in yourself, but by gosh, might it be the best investment you ever make. It certainly was for me, finding a teacher. And there's also a free community, either on Discord or Facebook, that you can sign up for down below. That will always be free. I will never charge you for it. Back to the video. The one biggest barrier, gosh, it's dramatic, dun dun dun, is self-deception. Sometimes we can't be honest with ourselves, can we? And so what's required is for us to put on a facade, which is okay. We put on a mask and pretend to be something that we're not, until the discord between me and my self-image becomes too much for me, and we have to drop the self-image into the void of who we are. So what do I mean by self-deceit? And self-deception. Yeah, we can tell the outside world that we're something when really we're not quite that thing. I used to do it. I used to pretend I was a playboy. And it worked, We can control our lives in this way, but it won't leave us feeling happy because it's not who we truly are. I know, me, playboy, right? Who'd have thought it? Never in a million years, eh? But that's what was needed for me as a self-image, to protect myself from the vulnerability inside that I felt around that. How was anybody going to love me, kind of thing? And so we put up this self-image, right? It's a self-protection mechanism, but actually it's toxic and it doesn't protect us. I don't mean it's toxic for the outside world, though it is in a way. It's more toxic for ourselves, isn't it? And that's the only relationship that really matters. If we can have a relationship with ourselves, then from that standpoint, that foundation, we can have a good relationship with other people. If we don't have a good relationship with ourselves, then we can still create relationships in the outside world, but they'll never fully be truly full or authentic, isn't it? Now, we can lie to ourselves in many ways. For example, if you have a Kundalini awakening like I did, you can lie to yourself and convince yourself that the journey is done after the Kundalini awakening. Oh, I've touched Samadhi, right? But then we come back to the world, we come back to the body, and we have to do the deep inner work that we perhaps didn't do before the Kundalini awakening. And we can think, oh, well, I've, touched Samadhi or a great state of being. But then we come back, we get a big blast of Shakti. Oh, wow. If we can lie to ourselves, isn't it? So we get a big blast of Shakti energy. We can say, I've been in Samadhi. And it's like, have you? If there's somebody coming back to talk about the state of being of Samadhi, we haven't been in Samadhi, meaning an ego, right? So We try and lay some foundational principles because any authentic growth must come from the foundation of honesty with self. And this is something, I know we all struggle with it, but this is something on my personal journey I've very much struggled with. You know, putting up masks to protect myself. But also on this path comes at some point a need or a requirement to admit to ourselves. And here's just a bit of advice, take it or leave it. And this took me a long time to get to this understanding. But we come to the realization that I cannot uphold these spiritual ideals. Because in the mind, they're expectations, aren't they? Oh, I must become vegan. Oh, and trust me, you can't eat your way to heaven. If you can see by these cheeks, I've tried. You know, they get larger every week. But you can't eat your way to heaven. We have expectations of I must do my sadhana twice a day. And whilst it's very good to begin cultivating discipline, sometimes that ideal is not possible for us in our life. Perhaps life takes us travelling or something. Travelling very hard to practice your sadhana. I'm not saying don't cultivate 2 practices a day if you can, that's great. I'm still working on it. Some days I only do 1. I know. So, can we be honest with ourselves? Meaning, if I set an expectation for a big Kundalini awakening to come inside of me, well, I've set an expectation that I'm likely not going to be able to reach right now, and who's going to suffer? Me. If I say I'm vegan when I'm not, who's going to suffer the next time I go out for a meal with friends? Me. Because I'm not ready to be vegan yet. And there's a cheeseburger over there, or chicken nuggets, or whatever it is, you know, for us, huh? We must be honest with ourselves, and sometimes we have to admit to ourselves, and this is the key one, and I say this with no malice, but I know it in me. Sometimes we have to admit to ourselves, I am not the finished product. And I don't have a hell of a clue when I'm going to be the finished product. But I know that my practices help me, and I know that they make me feel alive, and I trust that in doing and cultivating that discipline to do my practices every single day without fail, unless I'm sick, then it becomes a form of devotion, right? But if I can do that, I trust everything will drop away at the timing that it's needing to drop away. Be that overeating, be that changing of diet, be that alcohol, be that overindulging in things that we shouldn't do, like drugs or something, right? I don't, again, I know this in my life. You know, can we just do our practice? One great person who I have never met, actually, but is a friend of mine's teacher. And she sat at the feet of Ramana Maharshi for 12 years. She said, Ramana said this once, she said, all you need to do is do your meditation, because that was the modality that they took, meditation rather than yoga like this. Do your meditation twice a day and forget everything else about the spiritual journey. Things are going to drop away from us, aren't they? We know it in our life. If we look back, we go, oh yeah, things that didn't serve me have dropped away. I might be really dealing with something inside that is so strong and that I'm really worried is going to affect my spiritual awakening, but the tendency to go towards that is still so strong that we can't quite cut it out yet, right? And just know that this is okay. But be honest with yourself. We're just not quite the person that we think, or that we think we should be, or that we think we are just yet. And that's okay. You are a process. You cannot be judged. You are a process. As soon as somebody judges you, or as soon as you judge yourself, you're too late. You've missed it, because you're fresh in the next moment. You're new. There's a new opportunity for you. You are a process that is ever evolving, and therefore nobody can judge you. And if they do, does it matter? Nah, we just get so strong, isn't it? But that is the biggest barrier to anybody's awakening journey, is self-deceit and self-deception. I know it in me. It took me so long to admit some of those things to myself. I cannot uphold these spiritual ideals. Not yet. Not there yet. And then the strangest thing happens. When you kind of admit that to yourself, things seem to drop away. That's just my experience. I hope this helps. Have a great evening. Namaste.